first of all, last time I spoke to you was last year at TIFF, and you were the rising star, and rightfully so. You have risen in this past year. What else have you been up to since I saw you last?
Oh, the same old routine. I've just been working in a bar, say all the same as before, and working out, taking all sorts of classes, and just auditioning, getting close to things, not getting things, and doing press for this movie. I have a movie coming out at the end of the year, also called A Christmas Horror Story, which is starring William Shatner. And I'm up for a really big role right now, which I can't divulge yet, but if things go, to the end, then I'll have some good news. But the same old grind as an actor, basically. I mean, there's a lot of glitz and glamour about everything because of the medium, but at the end of the day, we're pretty simple, people like everyone else.
Folk.
Yeah.
Well, like I say, you're doing well. Just keep on the path. It's going to happen, and actually, it has happened. I mean, Dark Places. This is a biggie. And I wanted to ask you first of all, Gillian Flynn is obviously so popular because of Gone Girl, and so when this book came out, obviously, so many people read it. But let's face it, I mean, a very, very dark book, as said in the title. You play a character, Trey, and I want you to tell me a little bit about him because I don't know how you, after each day on the set, went home and shook him off.
No, thanks. Did you read the book yourself?
I did, yeah. I read both of her books. I like her. I think she's a good writer. Have you read her books as well?
I've only read Dark Places, but I loved it. I read it in 2 days, and it is heavy. I mean, it's one of her books that they say her fans tend to put down. It's the one book that they can't quite finish.
Yeah.
Just the nature of it. And I found the characters very fascinating in her storytelling, and was pretty excited to play my character because most of my stuff, I think, because of the way I look, people sort of peg me in a certain medium of persona, and it was nice to be able to, show a different side of my acting chops. So
yeah,
unfortunately, a lot of what's in the book is not in the movie. Just which movies, it's a bigger medium, so they had to tailor it down. And
exactly.
From what we shot, a bunch of what I shot, I'd say half of what I shot is not even in the movie anymore.
But that's what DVDs are and Blu-ray are for, right? We'll see all that then.
I don't think so because they have their story and they wanted a shorter cut, so they had to tailor down the story, and it makes complete sense when I look at the cut that they have.
Yeah.
And the 50% of my scenes that weren't in them, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. The movie's pretty long, and
yes.
They need to sort of make keep it to the essentials. So I was really happy with what I saw. Hopefully it speaks to the fans too, and it matches, or not matches, but maybe extends or evolves what they had, from reading the book.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted you to tell me a little bit about your audition process for this, because how did you nab the role? Like I say, dark character. So what did you have to do to convince them that you were the guy?
Yeah, with auditions, it's really quick. You'll sometimes get them at 5 p.m. and then have to have them in the next day, or you late at night you get told you have an audition tomorrow and you have to just learn these lines. If you get the script, you try to read the script too. So it's not a lot of prep time, and unfortunately for actors, I find I don't have enough time to get that deep into the work. Mm-hmm. But then there's also a level of, you invest yourself so much in roles. Once you start doing it for a while, you develop a bit of you protect your heart a bit, because when you first start, you're giving everything, your whole day, and completely committing to the role, trying to be this person. Then you go in and you do the audition for about a minute, or you do one take and they say thank you, and you're gone. Mm-hmm. And there you go. You've been working on it all day, all night, and
right.
And that's it. So, now you have these auditions and they happen a bit more frequently, so you just do them. You get them done, and I wouldn't say all actors, but for myself, I don't become attached to them. I do it and I let it go. Even
that's
now,
good. I think that's a good thing to do,
Yeah, it helps.
Yeah.
Even now with this role that I'm Final 3 for, I'm not getting too crazy about it, even though it's a big deal. I've been Final 2 and been flown to LA and not got it, and I've just learned to just stay grounded in my routine and doing classes and just staying on my own trajectory, and then if something happens to sweep me up along the way, that's great. But, with preparing for Trey, I just did the audition. I had a friend come in, and I have my own studio, so I shot the audition. And then I didn't expect them to really get taken by me, and they did. And then the director wanted to meet with me, so I met with the director for a while. And and there was I think I waited about 6 weeks to hear a final answer. It was a long time to actually get a yes, because they were going through all the producers, and there was a lot of discussions behind the scenes. And Charlize, Theron, who's also South African, was the final say at the end of the day. So they're like, everyone said yes, now we just need Charlize to give you the green light. And I was like, oh man, this is going to suck if the federal countryman is the person that actually stops this whole train. But she sent it through, and felt very fortunate to be a part of the project.
Fantastic. And you work with some great, I mean, all around, this movie has such a good cast in it. Oh my goodness. Like you're in the backstory and in the earlier days, of course. And so most of your stuff is with Ty Sheridan and Chloe Moretz. So what was it like working with them?
It was a lot of fun. I liked them both a lot. And as soon as I came on set, Chloe walked up to me and she just hugged me in the lunchroom. And that was really nice, because I wasn't sure how I would break the ice with all these superstars,
Right.
I mean, my role was on par with theirs, but they're all A-listers, and I'm sort of a newbie. So, you want to be equals in their scenes, but you also don't want to brown nose them, or you don't want to come off as a fan, even though you are a fan.
Sure.
So that was cool. But Chloe was really easygoing. And just had a very water-like, she could come in and out of the work and just be easy. Whereas I found myself, I was trying to hold on to my work. I'd go to my hotel, or I wasn't writing back to friends on Facebook, and I was just trying to stay focused, working out. And I kind of just wanted to stay a bit in the darkness of everything and not pull myself too much out of that. So I was a bit more fixed and sitting in it, whereas she was much better at just popping in and out. But her character is pretty charismatic. Mine is he's like, they say his eyes are like dark lamps. Mm-hmm. He emits darkness. So it was something I wanted to embody. And also I also felt like I had a voice of, ethnicity with people. So I wanted to be able to channel that spirit and those people in me. So I was just trying to sit with all of that. And as for the audition process that you spoke of, there's a lot of screaming and doing drugs, and I was a little worried that I was going to scare my neighbors. So I didn't want to do too many takes, because if I kept going, I thought they might call the cops. So I just would do it quickly and get it done.
Yeah.
And not, workshop it too much. But it was a lot of fun. And on set it was so quick. We had to do everything really quickly. So obviously it was different on set to how it was with me. But as for the cattle scene, there was real cows, and there I am with my pickaxe, screaming at these cows, and I was feeling terrible because these cows in the barn with me. So I try to keep my distance and not scare them up front, because I jumped in there, and I was a vegetarian for 8 months before shooting this. So I was all about animal, equality and, not hurting animals. And I was, watched documentaries on how they, the fear they go through all their life, and then the way they slaughtered and stuff. So I was feeling pretty terrible, but I was like, no, stay in character. But it was hard to sort of stay in character because, as you know, I don't want to do a spoiler in the interview, but you know yourself that, I mean, we slaughter cattle, and just there's blood all over us, and we do a Satan sacrifice.
Right. I was going to ask you, did you do a lot of research into satanic cults? And that's just kind of creepy stuff.
Yeah, I did some research into that, and I think it was also it was more into the music and the period. With that time, people were very sort of suspicious of Satanism, and, with the rise of heavy metal and the style of music back then, and with teenagers too, I think, parents, they sort of thought that way. So there was a lot of big conspiracy and, taboo to talk about music and playing a record backwards and hearing worship the devil on things,
Yeah.
But it was also sort of trendy with kids and teen angst at the same time. So, and then also with a guy who's ethnic in a white town, and, he's mixed and doesn't feel like he's either, native or accepted by the Caucasian community. I think he was lashing out in a certain way, and, he just sort of channeled his strength in the wrong way, and that's the whole thing too with men, and I think the male society is a little bit lost with how to channel their manhood lately, especially with the rise of feminism and people searching for equality. But then you're out with a girl and you don't know if you can order her meal or, you know, open the door for her because you feel like she might be upset by that. But
I
then
know it's got to be tough for you guys these days, huh?
it's a little confusing. So, you know, you don't know how to sort of imprint your manhood because some of it just seems too aggressive. But
Right.
then there is an asset of being aggressive as a man, but you can channel your strength and power for ill, and you end up in prison, or channel it for good. And it's just, you know, I think that there's a lot of shame with manhood now too. Men are very ashamed of who we are, and we feel like we're pervy and we're dirty, like we're
Yeah.
not good to women, and then, you know, children are told that they're bad sometimes, and you know, it's okay for girls to be emotional, but boys can't be emotional, and you know, with boys are now not knowing where to channel their energy, and then they get put on drugs, and you know, the suicide rate, 38,000, I think, in suicides in America, and 30 of them are boys.
It's very
So it's just
sad.
boys that sort of with the angst of being a male and trying to figure out how to be a man, and then you know, being ethnic or whether you're gay, all sorts of things. It's interesting for people to well, you know, for kids to try and figure that out, which was kind of what was a big blessing for me on Degrassi. Was I think a lot of kids got to sort of have a, you know, a visual of maybe in some of the internal questions. But
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about Degrassi because, you know, here you play this very pivotal character, obviously, and you were a role model to so many kids, young boys growing up, gay or straight, whether, you know, didn't matter. But do you find even still today, you know, you walk down the streets and people kind of stop you for that show and, you know, kind of give you a pat on the back, or, you know, what's the response that you still get from Degrassi? Because, you know, it even airs and repeats all over the place too, right? So,
yeah, more so than ever, as Degrassi is what I'm recognized for. It's always funny if someone recognizes me from Baxter, like a girl I was serving at my bar this weekend was like, were you on Baxter? She recognized me. People are often like, you look really familiar. And they say, were you on TV? And, you know, if they say you look familiar, I'm like, yeah, I get that sometimes. I don't tell them I'm an actor. Unless they say, were you on TV? I'll say yes. If they say what show, I'll be like, I don't know. If they don't know, I'm not going to tell them.
of course.
But if they know, like most of them, like yesterday, I think a couple people, I was out and there were separate sets of people who recognized me from the show. Some of them weren't sure. And then when they asked me, they're like, can we take a picture? I said, sure. And they said, are you lying? And all the guys think you're lying, you know, because the guys get a little bit competitive and they're like, yeah, whatever. And then they look you up. Yeah. They come over like, what character did you play? And they get a little competitive. But it's always really great when a gay boy comes over or a gay girl, and, you know, you can tell that it's meant something to them, and they talk to you about stuff. And I feel a little sensitive around them because I just need to, I feel like you know, there's an image to live up to, and I don't know what sort of, you know, I don't want to crumble any sort of impact that's had for them, that's helped them, you know, reshape, evolve who they are. But it's also, it's really great when just a dude comes over and shakes your hand. He's like, you're great on that show. And he's not, you know, demeaning me because I played a gay character. Sometimes I've seen friends like, oh, you know, fucking, he's like, a friend will walk by and be like, hey, faggot? Like, he's like, you played a faggot? Like, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, you know that I'm someone who's now a spokesperson for this. You expect me to just sort of have no reaction to it. But, you know, some guys can demean it the same way that, you know, most males will not admit that they're fans of female musicians.
Right.
Like, you know, they won't say that because for some reason subconsciously they think that that's emasculating or something, so they won't really say that. And unless it's like Nicki Minaj, because she's already got some swag and, like, you know, there's some, I don't know, testosterone to her or something that makes guys feel cool. But guys won't generally admit that. Same way, you know, they won't be a fan of a gay character as much. But when a guy comes over, and there's been quite a few dudes who've done that, it's great to see that they're above, you know, social programming. But you know, kids message me on Facebook and they ask for advice, and it's always tricky because I'm not sure how much to say. And
yeah, you got to stay kind of neutral, I think, in that kind of a situation. But no, but it's good. You did a great job in that role. I really quickly want to ask you also about you mentioned earlier Christmas Horror Story, and but you didn't get to work with William Shatner, I understand.
No, he actually came on board after we shot it, and it was a big surprise to us because we didn't know who was playing that part because he's a key part of the movie. And there was 3 separate directors, so the movie was already shot in such a haphazard way because there was 3 different sets and you know, 3 different directors. They were told in different styles, like the colors and just the comedic. Some were more comedic and some were more, you know, they had different tones to their stories. So you know, we were used to not shooting together, and then William Shatner joined on, and he was really great. I wasn't sure if he would just like, if he was just doing it, you know, I haven't seen him in a while, so I'm like, maybe he just, but he killed it. He was really funny, and he definitely, you know, took the bull by the horns and went all the way with it.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, that guy just never ages, I don't think, you know?
Yeah, especially with his charisma.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you play in that. Just can you tell me a little bit about what you do in that film?
Oh yeah, right. I play a guy in high school because Bailey Downs is based on it's based on a town called Bailey Downs where a lot of weird things tend to happen during Christmas. And it follows. It's like an anthology. You could call it a twist on the nativity story. So my character is a guy in high school, and we go into a basement to go check out a murder that had happened the same time a year before. And we end up getting stuck in that basement. We have a camera and everything, and we're doing like a school project. We're not supposed to be there.
Right.
So me and some kids go in there, and then we start getting into some trouble, and some things start to happen. And then the story sort of interject between all of ours. Like my girlfriend is in a separate storyline, but, you know, it cuts between her and her family, and then me and my friends and all that stuff. But he's a jock, and it was nice to play a jock, because in Degrassi, I guess I was playing a different sort of character, and you know, on Dark Places, I'm playing a drug dealer who's known as a Satanist, and he sort of slaughters cows and things, and he's into death metal and working out a lot. You know,
good range. You get to show a lot of your range, which is really must be great for you.
Yeah, and I'm supposed to play the lead in a comedy at the end of the year, so that would be really cool to play sort of this guy who sort of trips on his own feet and is, you know, not really good with girls. And I get cautious of that sometimes, because there are stereotypes with Asian males that I've tried to not, you know, reiterate too much.
Yeah.
And that was part of what I loved about playing a gay character, was I wanted to make him just a general guy, even though he does his hair and dresses well. I didn't want to, because back then I think a lot more people were playing gay characters as pretty gay. Right. And it's become more naturalistic now. But when I was doing it, I don't think it was that common, and I just wanted to make him a pretty general guy. And I was only supposed to be a guest star, and they brought him back, and he became a regular. But that was just my choice in the moment, and I guess it spoke to them, and it was nice to play him just as a guy, and not, you know, he is gay, but I didn't want to make him like, you know, the stereotypical type of gay guy.
Yeah, no, totally understand. Well, I really appreciate your time, and I, you know, all the best to you with Dark Places and everything else. I know we'll be seeing you. Are you going to be hanging around TIFF at all this year? Will we see you downtown?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm going to be seeing as many movies as possible. I think they're announcing the new TIFF Rising Stars tomorrow. I'll be going to a press conference tomorrow, so I'm excited to find out who the new lucky kids are. So. Yeah.
Well, you'll just have to show them the ropes.
I'll do my best. Thanks. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you. You too.